Here we are, smack bang in the middle of an Indian summer.
Shakalaka baby, shakalaka baby, this is how it's really meant to be.
Britain taps its foot to the Bollywood beat.
Come and shakalaka with me.
And at every turn, we're bombarded with glittering images of India.
Just wanna love you every day.
Saris and samosas, bindis and baltis, from furniture to fashion, everything Indian is suddenly so hip. Some people believe that this current craze for all things Indian is a kind of cultural crossroads. But the reliance on outdated cliches makes me want to take a closer look at what we're really being sold. I've lived in London nearly all my life, and I've certainly no memories of any other home. I'm passionate about theatre, and I've been writing dramas based on my British Asian experience since I was 19. At the moment, it seems as if the mainstream has decided to celebrate all things Indian. So where do those of us living in Britain fit into the picture? This current craze has some British Asians saying we've arrived, but there's little connection between all this hype and the journey people like me have been on for the last 30 years. My family first arrived here in the late 60s. I didn't actually visit India until I was 6, but I always knew my roots were there. When I went to secondary school, my very existence seemed to challenge the other kids and their parents. I was called a Paki, and I learnt that I was expected to keep my head down and my nose clean. But I had other ideas. As a kid, my bedroom wall was covered in posters of the Specials, Madness, the Sex Pistols. There weren't any credible Asian heroes at that time. You had your Bollywood films, Amitabh Bachchan, Sholay, but on the street that was quite embarrassing. It was something that you couldn't really be proud of. But to me, I was looking for an identity, loved the subcultures that were going on at the time. I was a rude boy for some time, got into the post-punk thing, eventually into hip-hop. And it just seemed to me that at that time I could pick and choose anything I wanted. In 1981, the National Front marched through Southall, one of the largest Asian communities in Britain. Images of British Asians fighting back on English streets were broadcast for everyone to see. The NF was defeated. I thought the old stereotypes of passive, obedient Asians would go too. The riots prompted a huge response from British Asians, and a range of political and artistic groups emerged as a result. That's when I met Ravinder Gill. When I first met you, I remember you walking through the park with this long black trench coat on. You had your fingernails painted. You had the 80s sort of hairdo. A bit of eyeliner on, and they
Trilby hat, black coat, yeah. I mean, this was just this boring suburb, right? And the last thing I expected was anything sort of interesting going on. And that interesting thing was a group of Asian and white and African Caribbean people, right, who all comprised the Hounslow Youth Arts Group. They were basically a collection of poets, musicians, actors, doing plays. You know, it's all amateur stuff. We said what we're going to do is we're going to write new plays, right, with unknown writers, take on unknown directors, and we're an unknown company, and we're going to put these stories on that we want to do. We made various discoveries. You could do all sorts of crazy stuff or interesting or colourful stuff and still be an Asian.
What are you doing now?
Having retired from performance, I'm now working for a large Japanese corporation. I'm doing IT support for them.
That's interesting because all your life you fought the stereotype and now you've become the stereotype.
Yes, I have.
It's hard to imagine now, but Hounslow in the 80s was a creative time and place for British Asians. Our paths crossed with the likes of Meera Syal and Gurinder Chadha, who went on to make Baji on the Beach in 1993. It was the first big British Asian film, but it was stuck in a strange time warp. This Baji was past its sell-by date even before it was released. But for actress Shaheen Khan, it was a milestone.
Baji on the Beach was my first feature film. It was one of those sort of moments of explosion because you think, wow, this is very exciting. You know, how often do you see sort of 8 to 10 Asian women on a screen?
But it's not about quantity, it's about quality. The film relied on cliched images of Asian women as innocent victims. and their men as violent wife beaters.
I just want to hear. I want you to hear what I'm saying, please. I just want you to listen to me. You never listen to me.
Shut up! At that time, 1993, Asians had really made an impact. You had quite a healthy scene, and we'd started doing some good stuff. It wasn't like the old days where you had the odd sketch.
But don't you think that what happens at the grassroots level is always like 10 steps ahead of what's happening on TV and in film? You know, I mean, I think there's such a delayed kind of thing. You know, with Baji on the Beach, I mean, that kind of stuff was happening in the 70s, and it wasn't until the 90s that that film was made.
A lot of people used it as a marker because people were saying at the time, is this what Asian people are like? This is made by Asian people. Yeah, but that's just stupid, don't you think? I mean, you know, why does everyone think if you see something on TV like that, then that represents all Asians? I mean, that for me isn't drama. That is just boring political sort of spin on it, and it's dull. So after Baji on the Beach, how was it as an actress for you then?
Well, in fact, my career kind of nosedived after Baji on the Beach. I had huge expectations, obviously. You know, I thought, great, you know, this is where my career is going to shift a gear. And actually what happened was there weren't that many Asian roles in film.
5 years later, in 1998, British Asians were back in the spotlight, making headlines and winning awards.
Technic's Mercury Music Prize should be awarded to Calvin Singh's OK.
Being of an Asian or Indian origin, I'm not a minority anymore, I'm a majority. And that's, you know, this is celebrating that, you know, so it's also celebrating the struggle of our forefathers.
Dubbed the summer of the new Asian cool, this time around it was about music and the fusion of British and Indian sounds. DJ Bobby Friction was one of those who found himself centre stage. What happened in 97, 98?
Young, second-generation Asians, almost like a demographic blip. All the guys and girls who were born in the early 70s and late 60s had suddenly come of age, had their hands on tools that made and created art and let them realise their dreams. And I was involved in all of that. I was DJing at the time, and there was a feeling of excitement in the air.
Did you see it as you finally establishing yourself and being heard as a British Asian, or taken seriously as a British Asian?
I realised from the first article that said, Bindis, trainers, Asians are cool. Hey, guess what? Asians are cool. I realised from the first article that this was going to be a particularly sickening ride.
Did it mean that much to you, or did you see it as a fashion thing? And did you see it as something that would just come and go?
All these trendy magazines went, oh, the new Asian cool, that's last year's thing. Which to an extent was right, because art in the 21st century and late 20th century moves incredibly fast. But at the same time was so insulting, because I really was, you know, told, you're not trendy anymore, get out.
Many people will say that we've arrived, we're being represented on TV, musically, on films, huge successes, and now we've got Bollywood. What do you think of the present time now? Where do you think we are now?
At the moment, we're in a situation where Bollywood's being touted as the next big thing. The idea that it's the next big thing is frankly laughable, because it's already massive. It will keep happening, and it is a cyclical thing. The only trouble I have with this whole Bollywood thing this time around is that, A, it's not British Asian, and I really do think that we've got some serious cultural and psychological questions we've got to start asking and acting upon as a community. And B, the fact that it's Bollywood, and Bollywood at the end of the day is big, big, big business. It's all about money. I know a lot of art is about money, but this is the big, you know, the big samosa, whatever you want to call it. And it's just not, for me, something to be celebrated as our culture.
This current craze for all things Indian isn't only fueled by Bombay film imports. Bend It Like Beckham is British and has taken over £10 million at the box office. Unlike earlier films like East is East, Bend It Like Beckham is a celebration of Indian culture, but it relies on tired caricatures to get cheap laughs.
Do you want a clean-shaven boy like your sister, or a proper Sikh with a full beard and a turban?
As soon as I knew that Gurinder was making a film, I absolutely wanted to be in that film. As an Asian actor, you know, any work that's going, you want to be part of it because often there's so little work.
Stupid flipping cow!
You've ruined your sister's life. Bas khush ho gaya hun, happy now.
My whole wedding's been called off because of you.
Me? Why? They saw you being filthy with an English boy. They're lying. I wasn't with any English boy.
They saw you today. I must stop kissing him. You stupid bitch. Why can't you do it in secret like everyone else?
You're mad. You're all bloody mad.
Jasminder, don't use those swearing words.
I did enjoy the film, but I couldn't help noticing that it relied heavily on stale cliches and comedy accents. Successful? Yes, but it also felt like another Asian own goal. The joke's been done. We've subverted it.
Yeah, but
Now
you know,
we're playing it to death.
Parv, the joke's been done, and there might be, you know, us lot who've been on the circuit, we're tired of it. But for a lot of people, it's very, very new in this country. You know, people are a bit, in the film industry, hesitant to dish out money for an Asian film, which may or may not work. And, you know, of course, now they're all very excited because East is East was such a success. And with this whole Bollywood kind of thing, they realise that the brown pound is quite strong. And, oh, yeah, you know, maybe we will put in a little bit more money into the Asian stuff. And, you know, today we've got Bend It Like Beckham, we've got The Mystic Nasser, we've got Guru coming out.
But they seem to think of that exotic stereotype for me as well, because here are these films, Bollywood again, Mystic Nasser, Eastern guy.
Yeah.
I mean, do you really think that it is a sort of a point that's culminated our work? Because it doesn't seem to reflect the work that we've done.
No, I think it's just happens to have, you know, there's a big buzz at the moment and those things have just come out at the same time.
Is this really coincidence? It's hard not to be cynical about the hype this time around. During 15 years of working in the theatre, I've seen British Asians create a whole new hybrid culture. But their voice is drowned out by the promotion of the same old Bollywood kitsch. Is this our failure to promote a truer version of ourselves? Or is there a broader resistance to accepting the more modern images of British Asians in all their variety? The Bollywood bandwagon has rolled into town and the most unlikely people have jumped on board. The Victoria and Albert Museum, the epitome of the British establishment, has followed suit, with an exhibition dedicated to the art of the Bollywood street poster. Selfridges are peddling religious images and artefacts, all under the Bollywood banner. And with 1.5 million visitors in 3 weeks, it's been their biggest ever promotion. In the high street, the fashion conscious are buying into Bollywood big time.
I hate we have a trend a week that comes up. So I'm used to seeing trends come and go very, very quickly. The fashion at the moment is to be alternative. The sort of Indian theme is a bit more bohemian, a bit more floaty, a bit more free, much more fluid. You'll see a little flash of beading on a flip-flop or saris, kaftans, that kind of thing. We had Denise Van Outen the other day wearing a frock by Scott Henschel, and he had one of the scenes from the Kama Sutra on the front, which was quite rude, actually. So that was a bit more full-on.
The kitsch and exotic images of India being peddled everywhere mean absolutely nothing to me. Just like the Union Jacks of Carnaby Street mean absolutely nothing to most English people. Does all this Indian glitz and glamour mean we've finally arrived? And if so, at what price? Raj and Pablo are self-confessed Bollywood it boys. They've been in the music industry for years, and their unique style is finally making its mark. With invites to all the best parties, they feel at last their time has come.
It's about wine bars, it's about, dressing up.
It's about, looking good, going to the kind of right places, and about having fun.
It's about media, GMTV, from any channel, any newspaper, there's something about Bollywood, and that filters down.
We use this term a lot. It's about glitz and glam. That's what inspired us.
With an album in the UK top 20, Raj and Pablo are riding the crest of a wave. But it's been hard for their blend of pop and Bollywood to break through.
We'd have management that would say, OK, you're two Asian guys, you don't need to be doing this, go out and just sing some normal pop songs. And we'd like, well, that's not a part of us. And again, that's about finding your identity, finding where you belong, and how culturally you're influenced in terms of the influences that we take being born as British Asians.
Why do you think India's selling? And if it is selling, what do you think people are buying?
The glamour and the glitz of it. And there's not enough glamour in people's life.
Finally, we've got a platform to do something that is an extension of our personalities, do something that we feel passionate about. Now, that's not to say that Selfridges feel the same, or Andrew Lloyd Webber feels the same. They have their own motivations, their own reasons. But as far as we're concerned, if it's on the Bollywood vibe and it's done well, we're going to enjoy it.
Do you think we're selling a real sort of kitsch, glamorized, shallow version of India to white people?
Why can't it be looked at as like a celebration of our culture and what's going on in terms of, Bollywood and the movies and the song?
Well, because it seems to me now I've got a lot of white people telling me what Bollywood is.
Isn't that fantastic?
No.
Well, that's why you need to come to our nightclub and then we'll tell you what Bollywood is.
I thought I'd give their club a miss and head down to Theatreland, to the epicentre of the latest Bollywood explosion. After decades of masked phantoms, singing cats and actors on roller skates, Bombay Dreams is Lloyd Webber's latest novelty act.
You think they should have done it on roller skates?
No, not at all.
No?
No, why?
Cat suits?
No, why?
Don't you think they should have done it with roller skates?
No, not this time.
I've never been to Bombay, but now I've got a bit sort of used to what it could be like.
Didn't you like it?
I thought it wasn't the greatest thing in the world, but...
It was fun. It was fun. They got it right. A mirror style. Good.
I didn't like the show. The plot was laughable, half-baked and stuck in the 70s. It was unchallenging exotica and cheap laughs. But I seemed to be on my own. To my surprise, the mainly Asian audience were delighted by the show.
Did you enjoy the show?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah.
Brilliant. So as British Asians, do you feel proud now?
Yeah, definitely. I think we can stand up and really be proud of everything that our culture stands for.
I think what I most liked about it was the actual mix of Asians and non-Asians that were actually watching it. I felt a great deal of unity when I was there. I was actually proud to be, I'm proud to be an Asian anyway, but when I see productions like this, it makes me even prouder.
I feel proud. I mean, it's really good that every people from not just Asians, the other community, the English community, they're all coming to see it. At least they can see how our Asian people are like in this country,
So it reflects our Asian experience?
Yeah.
The culture's being more accepted because it's being brought out into mainstream.
I got my hands on especially, so I fit in.
Real Mendy for the show, yeah?
Mendy for the show.
We want to fit in and not for us to have to change, but for things to gel, and I think that's beginning to happen now.
We have arrived. Excellent. We are here and we're here to stay.
As the audience came out of Bombay Dreams, they were on a high, buoyed up by the Bollywood feel-good factor. Did it occur to any of them that they'd been fed a second-hand version of an Indian import, just like everyone else? Journalist Arifa Akbar isn't enjoying the hype either, and remembers when she was made to feel that Asian and fashion was a contradiction in terms.
I kind of feel that the very things that caused me some pain or were an embarrassment to me have suddenly become fashionable for the summer. Isn't that wonderful?
But you say sort of pain and embarrassment, and it says, look, looking at these saris here, and I think they're quite beautiful garments. I mean, why would they embarrass you?
They embarrassed me because it was naff to be seen in shalwar kameez. All the appendages of Asian beauty and Asian fashion cast me as an outcast, something that made me look different, something that people could identify me as an outsider with.
And make fun of you with.
Yeah.
But it's quite interesting that you're sort of angry. I mean, in a logical sense, wouldn't you be sort of relieved or maybe even happy now that those things that embarrassed you have turned out to be things that people aspire to?
Well, no. I think it's a little naive for people to say, oh, it's great you can celebrate now. It's great we can all start putting on the shalwar kameez and dangling our funny little dangly earrings, because we're all doing it now. The white people are too. Isn't that great? I'm not even sure whether it's got anything to do with Asians. It's, like Madonna picked up on the bindi and the henna painting. I mean, has that got anything to do with the Asians? Or is she stealing something that belongs to us? And I think there's a sense of that. She's stealing that and making it white, sanitised, trendy. I don't think Bollywood Dreams is essentially, an Andrew Lloyd Webber production.
Indian culture is currently treated as either a joke or a fashion accessory. Like your average takeaway, neatly packaged, inauthentic and tasteless.
Do you feel like going for a curry now?
I always feel like going for a curry anyway.
Do you feel like you know a little bit more about Indian culture?
Yes, I do.
Or would you go and wear a bindi now and wear a sari?
Definitely. I think they're great.
Yeah, or would you wear them on the street just as casual?
I wouldn't mind actually. I think the colours are great.
Yeah.
I think they're really quite sexy as well.
No, they are, yeah.
I always like Bollywood
You always
films.
like?
Yes. Kuchi Kuchai Hai, is it?
Oh, I don't know, but you better go see a doctor about that. About Hindi guys. Date Hindi guys?
Yeah. I
Never dated one, but
I would. I'm trying.
This Bollywood bonanza is colourful and commercial, but it's a distraction and a one-sided take on our experience to date. And unless you're full of Eastern promise or prepared to play the fool, you're not invited.
You've got some very feeble-minded and very scared young British Asians who just don't want to push the envelope out. They just don't want to get out there and say, this is what I do when I finish work. I'm going to put it on television. And that's a real letdown.
Do you think you need to be accepted?
It doesn't change the way we feel when we walk down Oxford Street, if that's what you mean. We still feel the same. Yes, the opportunities are different, but in terms of the acceptance thing,
It's never bothered us.
It's never bothered us.
Do you see yourself as British?
I'm so glad you've asked me this question, because recently, over the last few months, I've been really thinking about what I am, who I am, and all that kind of stuff. There I was, watching England versus Argentina. I felt so part of it. In fact, I really wished I had a flag. I did. And I thought, my God, what's happened to me? Because I used to see myself as a British Asian, and I actually, for the first time in my life, in 30 years that I've been here, felt so part of this place.
So do you feel now that you're confident being an Asian now? You can sort of be Asian with pride?
Well, I don't think you arrive. I think, as a second generation Asian, I don't think that I can just arrive. I think I'll be evolving.
It doesn't come in easy packages. That this is who we are, this is our food, these are our films, that's it. It doesn't come like that. That's not real, that's a cartoon.
You could say, what's the harm in a bit of imported glitz and glam? But the problem lies in the fact that it's here today and gone tomorrow. British Asians have been on an extraordinary journey, creating our own unique culture as we go. But every so often the media circus blinds us with bright lights and invites us to jump on board their merry-go-round. And any day now, the Bollywood bandwagon will roll out of town, and I, for one, won't be taken for a ride.